Welcome to Two Gals and a Glass Half Full. Today you're here with I'm Dr. Bobby and this is Dr. Jess,
Hi,
and
everyone.
we're gonna start kind of talking about nutrition. Now, neither one of us are nutritionists. Neither one of us have gone to school for it. So this is just a true conversation between two healthcare providers who try to live their life as healthy as they possibly can, knowing that life gets in the way. So this morning, Dr. Jess, what you got in your cup today?
This morning, I am drinking my morning cup of coffee, just a little bit of half and half, no sugar, just enough to take a little bit of the acidity down.
Do you
Dr.
like
Bobby,
do you like the flavors in it, or is yours just straight coffee?
just straight coffee. Yep, I do a low acidic. It's a little easier on my stomach, and yeah, overall, I can drink 2 cups and then it doesn't mess me up at all.
You're not limited by the amount of cups.
Yeah, sometimes it's 3, but we're not gonna advertise that as normative. What's in your glass, Dr. Bobby?
So I have a nice big glass of water because I realized, like, in the past week I've been flying a lot and traveling a lot, and then because of that life gets super busy. And yesterday, this is probably like 32 ounces. Yesterday I successfully drank a large coffee and then about half of this, and that was all I had. And so
Fantastic. Yep.
when you wake up kind of with headache and this, it's like, okay, I better start getting more water in me.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to start the day. I realized at the end of the day, I was very busy yesterday with treating patients and had some meetings through lunch. And I got to the end of the day and realized I had no water. So I downed my entire water bottle. And then once I got home, I had 2 more cups of water. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to wake up in the middle of the night to pee. But
I always find
you're
like I do
busy.
really well first thing in the morning if I'm like
Mhm.
conscious of it. But then like there's this like huge gap in the middle of the day where it's like nada.
Right.
And some days I don't have lunch or I don't get a lunch. So like then it's really nada.
I know. Yeah, trying to make that a commitment. And that so strategies I use to get myself to drink water are I'll leave my water bottle in plain sight. So I have to see it and I'll still walk right past it. I'm like, you got to drink water.
Have you ever seen those water bottles that have like the 8 a.m., 9 a.m., like, or no, it's going down this way, like the levels? Like, I've kind of tempted to like get one of those for myself, but then I'm like, will I really use it? Like, do I want to spend the money? Because will I really like force myself to actually do it? I need to, but will
Right.
I?
I know, all different strategies. So it's Nutrition Awareness Month. We're now into month of March, and that our caveat obviously is that we're not nutritionists, but we do like to raise awareness for different topics that are being talked about throughout the country. And so, with it being Nutrition Awareness Month, it's like, well, let's talk a little bit about nutrition and what we do as individuals to try and lead a healthy lifestyle and eat as healthy, quote unquote, healthy as we can. But again, not giving specific nutritional advice by any means. So Dr. Bobby, when you think of a healthy diet, what comes to mind when you think of that?
So I think one of the first things, like, and it's almost when I think of healthy, it almost seems out of reach. It seems like I have to be perfect 100% of the time, and that you're not allowed to have those little cheat meals. You're not allowed to have that glass of alcohol that may be needed after a stressful day or with a group of friends. So I think initially when I hear the word healthy, that is what my brain goes to. And it's automatically on a defense of like, ah. Um, but if I break it down, I think it's eating like whole foods and like just trying my best to supply my body with the nutrients that it will need to help it run better.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what we all can do is the I think the I've read a number of books that are just all about Slow Food Nation and different ways of trying to better understand how to fuel our bodies. But I think the first thing that helps me when I think about healthy diet is when I look at food, I think of it as fuel. So if I can perceive it in that way, then I can think about the different ways that food can help fuel me. So whether it's protein to kind of help me with developing muscle and keeping muscle, whether it's calcium to help with bone development, things like that, where I'm just trying to make sure that throughout the day I'm getting as much balance as possible. So I could eat fruits that are lighter in nature, like lighter color in nature, or I can eat fruits that are darker color in nature, and they're going to have different things that are good for me. And so if I eat those darker fruits, they have more antioxidants in them. So then when I'm making my smoothie, I'm like, well, how about I put some darker fruit in there in addition to protein powder, in addition to some microgreens, in addition to some chia seed, ground flax seed, and kind of mix that all in. And then I'm trying to get as much as possible out of that one smoothie. So when I don't have all that much time to have breakfast, then I'm getting a little bit more bang for my buck out of that. And that's just like different strategies to try and incorporate that awareness. But Dr. Bobby, do you have any like sensitivities that you have to work around when you're trying to eat this healthy diet and things that don't work well for you?
So I will say, okay, so I out there, there's a lot of keto diet, this diet, and I don't really believe in diets. I feel like you should do something that can be a healthy lifestyle, something that you can do long term. There was one point in my life where if I ate, I was nauseous. If I didn't eat, I was nauseous. Like every time I put food into me, I felt terrible. So the one time I did do something called Whole 30, which I think a lot of people is out there. Now, the difference between this is it's meant to do for 30 days to kind of figure out what your body is sensitive to, and then you add everything back in. And during that time, I found I've been tested because I thought I was like had a lactose intolerance or anything like that. And it all came back negative. But through doing this elimination diet for 30 days, I found that bread and milk are two things that like really bother me. It's not that I can't have it, but if I have it on a consistent basis, like I don't feel good. And I would say those are the two kind of biggest things that I found
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, and that's awesome. I think I did something very similar with doing an elimination diet, because again, it's like all the time I'd like eat something and then I really wouldn't feel well. And then another time I would eat something and I would think it was very similar and I would be fine. And then you start getting, just like your energy isn't good and you're not being fueled by what you're eating. And so again, I did the same type of elimination diet and found that, like, yeah, gluten is something in general. It's not just bread. It was almost anything with like high amounts of gluten in it. But again, I was tested because, I was telling my doctor, I'm like, I just don't feel like I'm breaking stuff down well. I'm not digesting things. And I don't think I'm not sick, but like, I just don't think it's good. And, nothing came back positive. So like I don't have celiacs or anything like that. But then when I started cutting that out, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. I can eat and I don't feel lethargic afterwards. And then I also had to cut out, like, I don't digest like heavy protein very well, like beef and chicken and stuff. It's the same thing. Like it's so inconsistent. And even if I have not that much of it, even like beef broth, it was like really, I just feeling really not good afterwards. So I think doing the elimination diet for both of us has been really helpful to better understand our bodies and what's going to help our bodies fuel, because it's going to be different. I mean, you can eat chicken and I can't.
Yes.
I can drink
Right.
milk just fine. I have half and half of my coffee every day and I'm fine. So it's just kind of funny how we think of these diets as like, oh, if I just do a keto diet, or I just do a low calorie diet or a low carb diet or whatever it might be, but there's not a one size fits all. All of our physiologies are different for how we break stuff down.
And
So
I think one thing that before I did the elimination, I kind of did it as when you hit rock bottom and you have nowhere else to go, so you're like, fine, I'll try it. Like, but I think I had to hit that point to be willing to do it and do it like strictly. And before I did it, I would have told you like there is zero way that food can have that much effect on your body. Like I didn't believe it, like all of that. And first few days, I was like, "Oh, I got this. This is so easy." And then you hit that like day 4 through like 2 weeks where your body's just craving like the sugar and all the stuff that you normally feed it. That
Mhm,
was miserable. But after I hit that point, I was sleeping through the night. I did not have a single migraine. I didn't feel like any bloating. I didn't feel any, like, I had no nausea. Like, I felt good. I was eating more than I normally would eat.
mhm.
Um, but like, and it's not meant to lose weight, but it's just because I wasn't filling my body with certain things. Like, I was actually losing weight eating more. And I was like, oh, what's this? And it's
Right.
not meant for that, but it was just a side effect of like showing how much what you put in your body does affect what your body feels and does.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and this is like when I have patients ask me about, hey, like Dr. Jess, what do you think about, I want to lose weight or I want to do this or build muscle or whatever it might be. What should I eat? And I'm like, there's not a one size fits all approach. And so I think if you have something super specific that you're working towards, meeting with a nutritionist or a dietitian is really helpful because they get master's degrees just in nutrition, which is awesome. And that's like such a good resource when you have something very specific that you're working towards. But if you're just like the two of us and you're like, I just want to feel a little better. And I just want to make sure that when I'm eating, I don't like, I'm not slowed down by eating. Eating should help me feel better, not slow me down.
Yeah.
So like doing that elimination diet can be really insightful. But I think you're right about that. You have to stick to it. Like when I did it, I was really specific about what I took out of my diet, and I was very aware of what I was putting into my diet. So that way, I was being like, you can't cheat with it, because if in
No.
this scenario you can't cheat, because then you're never going to get your answers. Once you get your answers for what you don't do well with, then you're going to know. Like right now, like if I'm traveling and the only thing I can get is, I don't know, something like with crackers that aren't gluten free, and I'll get crackers and cheese and maybe some other things, because it is what it is. Like you're not at home with your normal grocery store. I know what I can get away with.
Yes.
I
Yes.
know, and I know when I've pushed it, which usually happens when I'm traveling. Like this summer, we were in Chattanooga, and like I got this veggie burger and it was only on a bun, and I didn't realize that the filling, I didn't eat the bun, but like the filling in the veggie burger had a bunch of gluten in it. And it was like, like such a like good day. We were out hiking and everything. And by the time we got back to the house we were renting, I was like, I have to go lay down. I know exactly what I did. It was the filling in the veggie burger. It didn't even cross my mind. But it's like,
Yeah.
I'm on vacation. I want to eat a salad. Like,
Well,
I'll
and
have
and
it.
I think a healthy diet isn't, in my opinion, and I would think most professionals in that field would agree, but I think a healthy diet isn't 100 or in 0.
Right.
It's that a lot of times I hear people say that 80-20.
Exactly.
80% of the time I'm trying to do this, 20% of the time I'm enjoying life. I'm enjoying the glass of wine. I'm enjoying the ice cream. I'm enjoying,
Absolutely.
that mac and cheese that is out of a box that you're not really getting any nutrition from.
Hey, it happens to the best of us. I do the same exact rule, that like 80% of the time I'm really trying to make those good choices. And 20% of the time I'm like, it is what it is. Like, I'm not going to beat myself up over that. It's when I go to 25% that like I start
It
feeling
kind of
that.
like slowly starts
Yeah. And I'm like,
25,
that was
30.
25%. It was 25. That's okay. Like, I'm just going to recover tonight. No big deal. I'll feel better in the morning and it'll be fine. And then you just kind of like, you bounce back from that pretty quickly, versus like letting that then continue to go downhill, which is the whole point, is like taking that time to recognize, okay, what was it? Let me put my finger on this and better understand. Yeah, I did push too much because I had crackers at lunch and then I had that veggie burger. So it was like kind of a two, I
Yeah.
2 meals. I pushed it on what I know I don't tolerate well. So that's, it's
Yeah.
fine. We got to learn the
Well,
hard way sometimes.
I have one question for you, but first I want to say, I know, like, I think it'd be really cool outside of my price range. So maybe during this podcast journey,
Uh-huh.
one day I will be able to share the results if I ever get there. But I'd love to see like a naturopath a doctor that does where they take blood work and they look at all the chemical levels, and they're not looking at
Mhm.
your CBC, and they're looking at all the vitamins and minerals and stuff in your body. I think that'd be really cool to do one day, although it is
I
very
agree.
expensive.
Yeah, and that's something to put into a savings plan, to say,
Mhm.
okay, this is a goal that I want to shoot for. And I agree. Like I think like all of these individuals that have so much training and knowledge that are outside of my scope and outside of your scope, but to really be able to tap into them and have them be able to help you feel even that much better, I think is fantastic. I mean, they're like really food and water and hydration can be used so much to help our bodies function, but so much of what's accessible, it really doesn't help us. It's got
Right.
so many fillers, so much sugar, so many things that we know are inflammatory, but it's easy, it's fast, it's convenient, and it's inexpensive. And so it makes it much, much harder to actually eat in a healthy manner. You have to be so
Especially
much
after a
more aware.
crazy day. Do you want to
It
stand and
is.
cook for an hour? Like, no,
Yeah,
or this is
it
like
is.
a microwave, 5 minutes, and I can eat and move on with my life. And I think a little our lives are so busy that like we choose that route.
I know.
But
It's hard. It's really
it's
hard.
so my question for you was, then you brought up traveling as one thing, but like what are some big barriers you find? And then some maybe tips or tricks. Obviously, we're not going to be perfect with everything. And sometimes when you go on vacation, you should go on vacation and not be worried about what you're eating.
Right.
But how do you handle that?
Well, I think some of my tips that I do for myself and for my family is we do meal prepping, and we do this on Sundays where like we essentially make a salad for lunch, and I don't put greens in it because it doesn't last the whole week, but I just put like a bunch of veggies in there and some hard-boiled eggs. And then that way, like all of those containers are just set in the fridge and they're ready to go. So it's like a grab and go for lunch, at least for my husband and I. And then for the kids, we'll do like we'll pre-cook some, squash and things that are easy to pick up and go, and make some sandwiches in advance. Not the sandwiches not too far in advance,
Mhm.
but I definitely will say that like doing that meal prep is huge. Like there's no chance that I'm going to have time in the morning to like put together a lunch and get to work on time for myself, the kids, my husband, get myself ready, get the kids ready, get out the door. It's
Yeah.
it's not going to happen if I have to add that meal to it. So we just do that on the weekends.
So
And
what if you're
I think that,
gone and you don't have that time?
yeah, so yeah, so if I'm gone and I'm going to be traveling, honestly, I do a prep in advance for that as well. So I'll grab, like, I know there's certain granola bars that I can eat that are going to be higher in protein that I can digest well. And I test it. Actually, I do this. I test it before I go. I'll get one or two and like have them like on back-to-back days just to make sure that I'm going to feel good with them. And then that way I know in the mornings when I'm traveling, I'll at least have that granola bar to go with. And then depending on where we're staying, if there's going to be a refrigerator there, then honestly, I'll just like hit a grocery store and stock up on stuff and, be able to do that. Apples and almond butter are great to travel with. It gives you that snack with protein. Things that don't need to be refrigerated, I pack all of that in my suitcase. And that way, when I am on the plane or traveling in the car for long duration, and the only thing that you can really get easily is fast food. I know I have stuff that will be good. And then when you like pick restaurants, if you're going to eat out, pick restaurants that have a menu that overall looks like it'll be manageable, for everything, but still have fun with it. I mean, still get some chips and salsa, have fun. uh, but you just don't want to be like slowed down on your trip like I was in Chattanooga. I was like, come on, like
Right.
I know better than this. I should have just I should have looked at the menu a little bit more before we went. That's all. But again, we learned from it. Dr. Bobby, what are some of the barriers that you deal with, and how do you handle those?
So I feel like I have like two main barriers. And the first is like just time, and with that meal prep. Like if right now I'm in a phase, I'm about to do a fellowship and I am traveling every single weekend. So I'm working Monday through Friday, sometimes Monday through Thursday. And then I will get on a flight either very late Thursday, Friday night after work. and I won't get home until 9, 10 o'clock on Sunday night. So my ability to meal prep at that time is zero. I mean, not zero. Like I could go to the grocery store at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night after I've been gone, but
I
I'm
call
gonna
that
tell
zero.
you, 5 a.m. on Monday morning comes way too early. Um, so that is kind of one of my biggest barriers right now in the moment. And what I try to do is on the weekends. So for me personally, Tuesdays I work all day, but it's a different. I'm not in a physical like location, so I just try to get through Monday, and then I'll reset first thing Tuesday morning
Mhm.
for the remainder of the week. The other thing I have found for those of you that travel a lot is you can bring food through security. You can bring salads. You just can't bring like water, liquid. So like I will make salads and stuff because the food in the airport is not the greatest, both quality and nutrition, and it's like 3 times overpriced.
Right.
Um, so I will do that and try to like bring as much food as I can to kind of limit my costs and control what I'm putting in. My second big barrier, and I know my family and my mother are going to listen to this podcast. So I'm very sorry. I love you guys. But my second biggest barrier is that my family does not eat healthy. When I live on my own, and I've lived on my own most of my adult life. I cook everything from scratch. I don't keep any junk in the house. Like it's just very much Sundays I cook. I have my meals. And if it has any type of vegetable, fruit, anything healthy in it, my family does not eat it. So that is kind of my biggest barrier is like when I'm cooking, if I don't include them on it, then they eat out because they think that's healthy, which we all know eating out is not very healthy. Not that we don't do it, but it's not healthy. So
Well, depending on the restaurant. I mean, there's some restaurants
yeah,
that have, I think, been a lot better about trying to like hit that target of individuals that are trying to be healthy. Um, but there's some that are, just
no, their eating out
some
is
restaurants. Yeah,
Portillo's,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Chinese,
Right.
Panda
Yeah.
Express,
Right.
and I'm just like, oh, so I kind of feel guilty. So like, I want to make sure I'm trying to cook meals each day, each week, but then it's not exactly to the healthy point that I would want for me.
Right. 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 Yep. And I mean, that's where it is. It's like trying to meet just like we keep talking about, like meeting your different roles in life. And when one role is trying to take a little bit too much effort, and it's like, okay, how can I reframe the situation to make sure that the way I'm perceiving it is in a healthy mindset for me, while I also am fulfilling my role with being a family member.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes it's a little bit hard to find that balance of like what's going to work well for me and for them to make sure that I keep this relationship healthy. And food is something that I struggle with as well, because of how I eat, which isn't like if I'm invited to a barbecue, I can't eat the food there. So in advance, I just will pack my own stuff. So I don't want to be burdened to anybody else. But sometimes people perceive that I'm being judgmental towards their way of living when that is not the case. It's not the case that I'm judging that you're eating meat. I don't care if you eat meat. We're omnivores. I get that. I just
And just
can't
so
do
you
that.
guys know, I eat meat in front of Jess all the time.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with that, but it's funny how like we get these like depending on what your choices are for your food, how other people can start to perceive you as maybe standoffish or judgmental or whatever it might be. And I think that's where we're just constantly having to talk about it and say, hey, no, like I get it, like you're good. Don't worry about me. I just can't tolerate that. That's all. So that's why I brought my own food. It's not to say that your food isn't good. I just can't eat it because I'll be on the floor on my left side, in the fetal position for a while, and I just would rather not do that. I wouldn't ask you to do that for me. So that way we can still be friends. We can still hang out. So it's funny how even food turns into we're still having to make sure we're keeping our social relationships healthy, family, friends, all of that. Um, so it is what it is. We just gotta like talk about it and bring it to the forefront of the conversation, and then make people more aware that it is hard. It's hard to eat healthy. There's so many barriers, but that's okay. It doesn't make it not possible. It just means that we have to put things in place to help us
Yeah.
be a little bit more with that 80/20, help us reach that 80 a little bit easier and with less guilt. It's not about guilt. There's no like, no, that only brings you down. It doesn't build you back up again. Um, so next week, what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about tools that are in the kitchen that can help, and just little simple things that maybe Dr. Bobby or I have tried and that have helped us, and things that maybe we tried that actually increased our time and didn't help, but maybe you can learn from that, or even give us recommendations of like, oh hey, yeah, you maybe you just missed a couple steps, or it doesn't have to be that hard if you just do this. So anyway, we're gonna get in the kitchen and just try some different things out and see if it's helpful for everybody. Okay. And Bobby, do you want to talk about what the challenge is for this week?
Yeah. So we hope you were able last week to record your kind of sleep and just kind of pay attention, more of an awareness. So this week, we want you to try one new recipe, any
It's
meal,
fun.
any
Yes.
type. Doesn't even have to be healthy.
Uh-huh.
Just get in the kitchen and try one new recipe and let us know A, the recipe, and B, if you liked it.
All right. Thank you, everyone. See you next week.